Before I begin, there's a bit of a story to this one. My mom wanted me to tell a Christmas tale for the holidays. I think it was because she liked my Game of Golf episode so much or something. At first I was like, I don't know if I have any free time on my schedule, but then I thought about it and I decided, why not? So here it is. A story that is, in my opinion, the greatest Christmas moment in history. The Christmas Truce of 1914. Pope Benedict was reading the newspaper and hearing about the war on the Western Front, the battles between the Germans and the British. And he thought to himself how wonderful it would be if on Christmas Day the two sides were to cease fire and have peace. So he went to the newspapers and he told them this. And at first no one thought much of it. The generals were telling their soldiers not to honor this truce, and most people thought it was going to end there. But on Christmas Day, the British were sitting in the trenches and they were drinking their coffee and they were telling stories. And as they were wallowing there in the mud, they heard the sound of Christmas carols. And they peeked over their trenches and they looked out and they saw that the Germans had all these candles on the ground and candles up in the tree, and they were coming out and they were singing to them. And the British pulled out their guns and they were trying to decide whether they should fire or not, but something about it stopped them. And they got out and they began to sing too, and they all began singing. And so there was a unusual Christmas that day. The Germans exchanged goods with the British. They gave over prisoners in exchange for other prisoners. They gave them the bodies of some of the dead that had wandered over to their side. And they even, according to some accounts at least, had a game of impromptu soccer. I do think this did happen. There is even photographical evidence, but there's no certainty. There's some that are still skeptical about it. We here at the Fireside Tales believe it. But one John Ferguson summed up the whole thing pretty well, I think. Here we were laughing and joking with men that only a few hours before we were trying to kill. And after all this was done, they went back to their sides, and the next year, the next Christmas, there would be no truce, and many, even during this, thought that the whole thing was a mistake. Adolf Hitler said it was an embarrassment, but what does Adolf Hitler know? And many didn't think well of it. But there is something to be said, if I may, although I know most of you will probably be thinking how foolish it was for those soldiers to go over there and for there to be any peace. But there is something to be said for two sides coming together and showing that all human beings are capable of love and kindness, at least for one day of the year. I think that it was, who was it? It was Bruce Bairnsfather put it best. Looking back on it all, I wouldn't have missed that unique and weird Christmas day for anything.